Welcome to our Money Chats. You can reach us on Twitter at Our Money Chats. You can email us ourmoneychats@gmail.com. Today's topic is feeling not enough. We've been connecting with various other YouTube channels to talk about and discuss and research this feeling of not being enough, or feeling like you can't seem to get what you need when it comes to relationships. Many people who've been listening to these talks and these chats know that money and relationships have an effect on each other. And we've been talking about that in the realm of our millennial lifestyle and the way that we live, and how money affects us and how it affects our marriages or desire to be married. And for myself, the question was directed at me, like, how do I feel about, marriage and money? I've said before that I feel like those two things are important. I delayed and prayed myself that I would have enough money to get married. I feel like just because I'm a female or femme presenting person, that I should not bring something to the table. I don't think it's a man's job to cover everything. I think that it's important for everyone to contribute. And so that's important. So feeling like you don't have enough comes from a personal situation for me. I was talking to someone, and the person was just sort of not responding a lot. I assume they just weren't interested, but then they call out of the blue and be really gung-ho and say really strong things like, I'm, about marriage, about future, about us being together, and then they would drop off. And I knew that if I did not contact the person and make an effort, that I certainly would never hear from them again, because that was the kind of person that they were. Or when I heard from them again, it would be so far along. So I decided to put my whole heart and soul into it. And I, did everything I could to be the friend. I checked in daily, everything. And the person just felt like it was too much, that checking in daily wasn't necessary. I later learned the person has Asperger's syndrome. So for this person, a lot of things that they do that for me as a neurotypical person, things that are normal to me, were not normal for this person. It just felt unnecessary. He didn't really feel like relationships and friendships were necessary. Even if he had mentioned marriage a couple of days before, that didn't mean that he needed to call me and talk to me within that same week. That that just wasn't necessary. So it made me feel like, in hindsight, we just weren't on the same page. He is definitely functioning in a different way, and I'm functioning in this particular way, of one that when you talk about life and future with someone, then you want to make sure that you keep in touch with them, because if you don't get to know the person, then what kind of future are you going to have? And part of that for me was, what are you bringing to the table? And I wanted to make sure I had enough to bring to the table. Sadly, this person just kind of wandered off, and I didn't go look for them either. That's enough for me. I'm not going to look for the person. But that feeling of not having enough can also come from the other person. Are they giving enough to you emotionally and mentally? Are they calling you? Are they keeping in touch? This sort of, I guess, love bombing is what people are calling it now, where people say all sorts of things like, oh, I care about you, you're awesome, you're just everything. And then they vanish. They just ghost and go away. And it can make you, the person, feel like you're not enough. And that's not the case. I think one of the things we have to remember before we start to blame ourselves or say, oh, it's me, and I think that a lot of people do that. They immediately, today we've been taught that we have to just first look at our own actions and take responsibility for things that may not really have anything to do with us. The whole law of attraction sometimes says, or in some kind of way makes you think, and someone will probably argue with me on this, that if something bad happens to you, it's your own fault. What did you do to make this happen? You thought about it too much? Did you consistently give energy to the negative thoughts of, oh, this is going to happen, or that's going to happen, or he's going to leave, he's not going to call? I think a lot of times when things like that happen, it's not necessarily you or your thoughts. You have thought this because you actually saw it happen. I saw he wasn't calling, he wasn't talking to me. So it made me worried. It made me think. Again, there wasn't enough action on his part to make me feel secure that he was going to stay. So I was concerned, and eventually it just fizzled because he just wasn't present. And that can be for anything. If you're working on a project with someone, if you are, going to see certain friends regularly, and then they just they're not there. That feeling of not enough. Don't always blame yourself. Look at the actions of the other person before you automatically take on our new approach to life. This whole thing of, it's, be positive and positive things will happen to you. Sometimes it takes two people to, make these positive things happen. So if they're not giving their part, if they're not bringing something to the table and maintaining it and watering that friendship like a plant, you water it. You have to water the plant. You have to water the friendship. If they're not doing it, stop blaming yourself. Look at what you're doing and say, what have I done for this? And leave it. If you've done everything you can and there's still not enough to keep it together, then just, examine that. From that point, counseling may be needed, therapy may be needed, because it depends on how much you've given of yourself, of your time, of your resources, and you do need to find a way to get through the loss of this did not work. So just don't blame yourself. Stop blaming yourself. Stop looking always at you, and realize that sometimes you have given enough, and your enough was not enough to hold the whole thing together, and it shouldn't be. It's not. Relationships and friendships are not made of one person. It's two people. I hope that helps. I hope that's helped someone. This has been another episode of Our Money Chats. You can reach us on Twitter at Our Money Chats. You can email us, ourmoneychats@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.